Welcome to the movies, pal. Your friendly neighborhood Master Chaos back with you once again. And, Sumo's joining me once more. Hi, Sumo. Happy Halloween. Today, we're talking about an anthology, kind of. An anthology. That is a huge caveat when I say that term. What do I mean by kind of an anthology? Well, today's movie is Scare Me, written and directed by Josh Rubin and starring Josh Rubin, Aya Cash, and Chris Red. Sumo, do you know what I mean by kind of an anthology? No? Well, I'll tell you. Scare Me is essentially a play. Now, before I get into the review, question for you. Do you like theater? Do you like live theater? Do you like people, standing on stage and acting out things like a normal play? Hey, come on over for dinner. Oh, I saw the weirdest thing in the store today, and then that person kind of acts out the weird thing in the store. Essentially, do you like live theater? If the answer is no, you're not a big fan of live theater, or you don't really do plays or anything like that. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of plays. As a matter of fact, I kind of dread live theater. I don't know why. It just doesn't work for me. But it's important that we mention that we sort of get that out of the way, because Scare Me is essentially a play. What you're watching is a play. The movie takes place in a cabin and really only factors in 3 characters. Well, really only 2 characters, and they're both writers. Well, let's get to the plot and it'll be clearer. Fred and Fanny are writers of varying degrees of success. He's just sort of starting out, and she just had a big best-selling book come out. They meet while they're both staying at cabins in the woods, I guess sequestering themselves to prepare to write their next novel, or in Fred's case, his first novel. Anyway, they meet up, and due to a blackout, they decide to sort of hang out together in Fred's cabin and spend the night together telling scary stories. Now, you would imagine, as an anthology, somebody says, I'm going to tell you a story. You cut to the story, with different actors playing out the story. In the case of Scare Me, what happens is the 2 actors just sit in the cabin and tell each other the story. Now, I will say there's some really fun stuff with the sound mix and a couple of practical effects here and there that sort of spice up the story. But essentially, it's somebody saying, "Hey, here's a story about a werewolf. So there was an old man, and he had a virus, and he turned into a wolf man, and then he attacked these people." That's essentially what the movie is. And it's a long movie, which is unfortunate. I wish they had cut out a part I'll get to in a minute. But it's a long movie. It's almost 2 hours of people sitting in a room talking to each other. So you know what I mean when I mention that it's essentially a play. One location, 2 characters talking. It is essentially a play. And maybe it started out as a play. I don't know the background on Scare Me. Essentially, I was with the movie for the first story. Fred tells a story about a wolf man. And there's a couple of practical effects moments where I was like, wait a minute, where is this going? This is going to get really interesting. And then it was just a story. That's kind of a mild spoiler, but not really. It was just a story. And then Fanny tells her story. And it was only the second story, and when she starts, I'm like, oh no, this is a play. They're just going to talk to each other. I don't know. I don't like this. Now, let me get this out of the way right quick. The actors are amazing. Both these actors are great. Josh and Aya are fantastic actors. They're magnetic. They're fun to watch. They really sell it. They do. They really do. I'm not knocking the actors. I'm just knocking the game, I guess, is a good way to put it. The concept is dull. You should also understand that I've been at parties where I've had people pitch me their entire movies, and, all I feel is trapped and bored and uninterested, but you have to sort of play along like, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, wow. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, neat. Oh, wow, yeah, that's never been done before. That's cool. You know what I mean? And so I've been in that situation, and I don't find that interesting or compelling. And so to watch 2 strangers pitch each other ideas, that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it for me. Unfortunately, like I said, the movie keeps going, and they keep telling stories to each other back and front, and the only thing that really changes it up is the thing that I think they should have cut. Chris Redd, one of the SNL, one of the new cast members from SNL, shows up. He's great, very funny. He definitely injects life into the proceedings. However, he comes in for about a 20-minute portion and, joins them for a couple stories. One really protracted story where they do sort of an American Idol meets The Exorcist kind of thing. And it just goes on for way too long. It's a little too goofy. At one point they're doing Blow. And I don't know. I just felt like, I'm over this. And if they had cut out the Chris Redd portion, I think the movie would have been trimmer, more lean and mean. But it still would have had that play aspect. But I think it would have been shorter. And I think mercifully shorter would have been the way to go. I will say the movie has a really stunning third act, really tense stuff where the stories may become true, may not become true. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I really enjoyed where it went in the end because you didn't know if it was real or not. And I loved that. I really loved that. I think the actors did a phenomenal job with all of that. However, I wish we had gotten there sooner. I feel like we wasted so much time pitching each other ideas and scary stories and trying to scare each other. That's what the movie's called, right? They had to scare each other. So scare me, tell me a scary story. They wasted too much time with superfluous stories and fluff. Maybe each tell each other a story, okay, and then get to that really meaty third act, which I think still would have worked without all that stuff, without Chris Redd showing up as a pizza guy and him, then doing cocaine. It was too much. It was too much for me. I think that the whole middle was too bloated. Sad to say, the beginning of the movie, I was going to give it 5 stars. Like, wow, this is really good writing, really good acting. But by the second story, it started dropping. So unfortunately, I'm going to give this, I don't want to give it 3 stars. I'll give it 3 stars. I almost gave it 2. I'm going to give it 3 stars because the acting is so good. The writing is really great. But beyond that, unfortunately, it's very dull, very, very dull, almost tedious. I had to watch it in 2 parts. I was like, man, this is too much. I'm going to take a break. I'll come back. I'll finish it the next day. I couldn't sit through the whole thing in one viewing, which doesn't really bode well for a scary movie. You want to sort of experience the ride straight out. And that's another thing. It's not really scary, really, until the third act, where it gets pretty tense. But and it's also a horror comedy, so be prepared for a comedy. It's more of a comedy than really a scary movie. So that's another thing that's probably a negative in that corner. If you like horror comedies, this is probably right up your alley. If you don't mind plays, 100%, you're going to love this movie. This is probably going to be your favorite new horror movie. It's, for me, not. Sumo agrees, of course. He fell asleep halfway through. Well, pal, that's it for my review of Scare Me. Did you see it? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know in the comments down below. It's on Shudder. I think it's a Shudder exclusive. So go check it out if it sounded interesting to you. But if it didn't sound interesting to you and I've warned you off, please let me know as well. And while you're at it, leave me a thumbs up. I appreciate that very much. Time to close the theater down. I've got to pull the curtains here on the silver screen. Until we meet again, I wish you a very pleasant good day, good evening, or good night. I have been your friendly neighborhood Master Chaos, and you, my friend, have been entertained.